Hello, everyone. This is Mary Esther Miranda Gilbert with Pure Health Mastery Institute of Holistic Personal Health Management. And we are here. I'm here today with my members, and we are going to be discussing a very, very important topic that I feel the public needs to know about. So in the process of recruiting more new members, this is a new launch. This institute has now been launched for 4 weeks now. So I am taking new memberships at the moment. So, the first couple of months, maybe 3 months, I will be showing the public what you will be seeing as a member. I also address many personal health issues, a lot of questions and get answered on regarding your nutritional health and holistic health in general, living a healthy lifestyle. So if you don't know me, if you're back again as a regular member on the channel, on the YouTube channel, welcome back. So happy you're here. But yeah, I've been doing this for so long and collecting data and writing books and, just doing all the things that I can do to educate the public. And so tonight we are going to be talking about artificial meat, all of the effects that it has on the body. There's a lot of, debate out there, but we're going to stick to the scientific facts. In fact, we're going to stick to the peer-reviewed studies, which you can't get more credible than that, because it takes a lot of time and many, many scientists all over the world to come up with the conclusions that provide very strong evidence that something can be very factual and very credible. So we're going to validate all of the assertions that I'll be giving you tonight in the form of peer-reviewed studies, and I will show you that just now. Let me go ahead and share my screen for everyone. Okay, so there's the site for the True Health Mastery Institute. If you want to join, you click there. If you're already a member, you click there, or you can use your link that you receive in your email. But let me go ahead and share my documents here. Okay, so these are just my notes. I'm not going to, produce a formal document about it, but I just cut and pasted a couple of the links so that I could go in and show you. First of all, I'm going to go to Dr. Vandana Shiva. Excuse me, her name is Vandana Shiva. I always get that first name wrong, but it's Dr. Vandana Shiva. And this is just a little blurb, but I'll be reading more about her from this link here. So let me just go ahead and go to that link, and we'll save a little time here. So this is her website. So right away, you see that she has pinned this: false solutions that endanger our health and damage the planet. So there's a corporate push for synthetic foods. And of course, it has to do with that big dollar sign there. It's always the bottom line. It's not very often that you see a corporation that really cares about human health or what they're doing to the planet and the impact they're having on people's lives. So I'd like to just go ahead and read this article. It's only one web page long. I can scroll down and show you real quick all of that I'll be reading to, just that section there. And there's a couple of very poignant photographs or images here. But let me just go ahead and start right in. So there's a corporate push for synthetic foods. Fully artificial food is an increasingly popular trend focused on developing a new line of synthetically produced ultra-processed food products by using recent advances in synthetic biology, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. So this is something outside of what the body normally recognizes as something that it can utilize to maintain itself and protect itself and prevent any kind of disease process. So these new products seek to imitate and replace animal products, food additives, and expensive, rare, or socially conflictive ingredients such as palm oil. Palm oil, you see these huge plantations of palm oil when it's not even a healthy fat. And the way they grow the palm oil throughout the world, it destroys the environment. They use pesticides, so that it's not a nutritional product to begin with. But yeah, anytime you have palm oil or canola oil, those oils do not contain the right types of fats to maintain the brain and the nervous system and serve as precursors to the hormones the body produces and all sorts of other things that we use fatty acids for. The structure and strength and pliability of our cells So yeah, I can just go on in that particular subject, but that'll be another call, okay? So in the meantime, biotech companies and agribusiness giants are seeking the opportunity to move into this promising market of green consumption, and hence these products are marketed to a new generation of environmentally conscious consumers who are growing critical of the grim realities of industrial food production. So that's great. Her work has been around for a very long time, and more people are sharing information like this. So the word is getting out there, but there are still so much of the population that still does not know what's going on, and they're buying these foods thinking, oh, how wonderful, we don't have to kill animals anymore, and it's good for the environment, when in fact you'll see it's not at all. So as a result, meatless burgers and sausages, as well as imitations of cheese, dairy products, seafood, and others, have begun to flood the market, being found anywhere from fast food chains to local grocery stores. Now, I don't know about any of you, but fast food chains they're not food. If you've ever seen that old uh, article about McDonald's hamburgers, you can just let it sit there for 4 years and it won't deteriorate. So there's nothing nutritious about it, not even the bacteria want it. Okay, so the normal enzyme bacterial process that breaks down food, I know it's funny, right, Yael? um, let me go ahead and do something here. Okay, that's better. I can see all of you. Can you see everyone here, everybody? That's better, yeah. Okay, alrighty. So anyhow, where was I? Although these products market themselves as eco-friendly, sorry, what? Is that the right place? I think
Yes.
that is. Yeah, okay. Although these products market themselves as eco-friendly, healthy, and sustainable, they are no such thing, as they do little to truly address the root problems of industrial agriculture and its environmental and health consequences. Consequences that can be largely blamed on the same circle of businessmen who today finance the development of the biotech industry. And that means genetically modified organisms, things that aren't compatible with the human body, that cause chaos in how your cells want to replicate and how they're trying to duplicate and preserve the genetic code that's in the body that runs the whole body, right? But if that's disrupted by these uh, very foreign genetically modified organisms, then there's going to be health consequences. And we can do a whole other call on the research about genetically modified foods, how they are linked to cancers and nervous system disorders and even digestive disorders, birth defects, all kinds of hormonal problems, things like that. So the key to optimal health vibrancy is just to preserve your genetic code in your DNA that's in every one of our trillions of cells. So that can only be done by the right nourishment and none of these foreign substances that go in the body. Okay, so these products instead represent the next generation of ultra-processed junk foods that work to further entrench industrial agriculture models due to their direct dependence on globalized commodity chains, agrochemicals, GMOs, monocultures. And by monocultures, it's just the typical row by row, the same crop, and not nurturing the soil, not building a living soil to ensure the health of the plants, but instead they're being sprayed by pesticides. And that's been growing over the years because these superbugs, they get adjusted to the pesticides and then they continue on with their natural job as to eat the diseased plants, and return them back to nature. So it's just this vicious cycle that the big food or big agriculture corporations are benefiting from just for themselves, but not for humankind, of course, right? So that's what the monocultures are about, and even conventional animal production. So in other words, synthetic foods are quickly becoming a next means to consolidate even more power and profit into the hands of a few food giants without facing the implications of ecological devastation, worsening human health, and exacerbated climate change. So I do get ahead of myself, don't I? I mean, that's just what I just said. All right. So one of the key differences between conventional junk food products and these new synthetic foods is the use of new technological innovations such as synthetic biology and genetic engineering. Synthetic biology is a new type of biotechnology which is now creating entirely new organisms and microorganisms through the genetic modification or engineering of an organism's internal genetic parts to reconfigure them in new ways. By implanting pieces of other organisms' DNA into microorganisms or reconfiguring internal genetic information, these new technologies trigger microorganisms, cells, or other forms of genetic material to ferment and reproduce in order to trigger them to create new, completely synthetic ingredients. Talk about frankenfoods, right? I mean, this is totally distortion. It's just an abomination to creation as far as I'm concerned. So the use of the word fermentation in synthetic biology hence creates a false analogy between traditional forms of natural microbial fermentation and these new completely artificial biotechnologies. These new technologies are now being used by companies such as Beyond Meat, Motif Foodworks, Ginkgo Bioworks, Custom Built Microbes, Bio Milk, Lab Grown Breast Milk, Nature's Find, fungi, grown meat, and dairy alternatives, Eat Just, egg substitutes made from plant proteins. I don't know about you, but I'm being horrified here. Perfect Day Food, lab-grown dairy products, or Not Co. So these are very strange and unfamiliar names, and but they're trying their best to get their products out to all of the supermarkets. And so the unsuspecting public, just isn't being told exactly what is in these things. So companies such as Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods use a DNA coding sequence derived from soybeans or peas to create a product that looks and tastes like real meat. Now, the soybeans and peas are likely genetically modified as well. 99% of the soybeans out that have been grown in the United States are genetically modified. So that's why I always advocate people buy organic foods, because those kinds of things are not allowed in organic food production. Okay, for instance, companies like Formo are using synthetic biology to synthesize milk proteins through fermentation for mozzarella and ricotta cheeses without cows. Filler ingredients for these products are also still rely heavily on the extensive processing of conventionally cultivated and mostly GMO crops. For instance, the Impossible Burger is made almost entirely from industrially produced wheat, maize, soya, coconut, and potato, in addition to additional bioengineered ingredients. Proteins, carbohydrates from these conventional crops are chemically extracted, cooked, and then extruded through machines that blend and shape them into strands resembling short muscle fibers, allowing manufacturers to convincingly imitate a range of processed meat products. So there's so many things wrong with that picture. These are plant foods, they're incomplete proteins. For some reason, there's a huge confusion out in the public. I'm sure it's been for a reason. These corporations want the public to be confused and misinformed. When you're talking about a protein, if it does not contain all of the essential amino acids the body cannot produce, which are found in animal-derived foods, then it's not a complete protein. Plants contain a variety of these different types of amino acids, but you need those amino acids to compose our own body tissues, our own cell structures, and everything in the body that's protein. So at the micro cell level, we need those 8 essential amino acids, 9 if you're a certain age. Infants can't produce one of them, but generally it's adults that can produce that one extra amino acid. But so proteins, is a misnomer for plant foods. They're incomplete proteins because they don't have all of those essential amino acids in this protein molecular structures. Okay, so anyhow, if they're making a plant, meat product, then it's not a meat product, and it's an incomplete protein, and that has many nutritionally deficient ramifications for people who are consuming only plant foods. Alrighty, so cell-cultured synthetic meat and dairy, lab-grown or cultured meat and dairy products are now also being marketed as yet another alternative to animal products with many companies investing in cell culturing or fermentation of foods made from real animal cells. In the case of cell-based meat, tissue is taken from a living cow and combined with extracted stem cells to grow into muscle fibers in the lab. Once enough, over 20,000, have been obtained from this process, they are colored, minced, mixed with fats, and shaped into burgers. For instance, Upside Foods, previously known as Memphis Meats, produces meat through this method by using self-reproducing animal cells. The rationale is that such an approach would eliminate the need to breed and slaughter a huge amount of animals, thus ironing out many ethical and ecological concerns along the supply chain. While lab-grown meat is not yet available to the public, companies like Upside Foods are heavily investing in research and development in order to make their products economically affordable over the long term to compete with commercial meat options. The Canadian company Better Milk, for instance, is also investing heavily in the production of cow's milk using bovine mammary cells. Yet, whether upscaling lab-grown will one day be economically viable remains very doubtful. Here's the catch, okay? It's not economically or environmentally healthy, okay? So an article from The Counter reflects on the limits of the transformative potential of this emerging technology, with particular attention to the many obstacles faced by cured meat companies. Through a rigorous review of scientific data, the article demonstrates that cultivated meat gives rise to a lot of inefficiencies and limitations in scalability. There's another problem. How do you mass produce all of this? Embodied by the need for intensive and sophisticated machinery, structural limitations on cell metabolisms, and immunity to foreign contaminants, and a series of complex processes that all place a strict limit on the expansion of production. These factors contribute to a lack of cost competitiveness in comparison with the conventional meat products they wish to replace. Let me allow Ruth back in. Hi, Ruth. There you are.
I'm moving to my phone
Okay.
because I have to head up to the house.
Okay. That's dedication for you. All righty. So these factors contribute to a lack of cost competitiveness in comparison with the conventional meat products they wish to replace, as cultured meat production would amount to far less than conventional slaughterhouses, especially when cell culturing facilities at the scale needed have previously never been made viable. So there's that problem: cost, toxicity, environmentally not sensible at all, just not doable. So here's a little rendition of the steps that it takes to grow this lab-grown meat. So they're still having to, inject cows, probably with drugs, antibiotics or whatnot, and even growth hormone. We're trying to get away from that because that's just inhumane. And then the stem cells are extracted from the tissue and grown in cultures, right? I'm sure the petri dishes aren't that small when you're going to be doing this at a massive scale. And that involves many, many chemicals, that's meant, as it was mentioned up above in this article. So the third step, the stem cells are grown into muscle fibers in a bioreactor for 6 weeks. Bioreactor, that sounds like nuclear reactor to me. I don't know what a bioreactor is. We'd have to look that up. But really quick, I'm going to look it up because that's what I do. And that's what I want to show you, this little extra step as a member, that, this extra information that you need. So it's a vessel or a system that supports a biologically active environment used for various purposes, including the growth and maintenance of microorganisms, mammalian cells, plant cells, and algae. Bioreactors are essential in industries such as biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, food production, and wastewater treatment. Okay, I learned something there. How about you? Did you all know that?
I
Okay.
did not.
Oh, you
But
did
it
not.
I
Oh,
found good. No, no, I'd rather have mine grown in a garden. Sorry.
exactly. Exactly. So anyway, then the muscle fibers are processed, minced, mixed with fats, and shaped into burgers. I mean, the animal, bless those animals, thank God for those animals, how they keep us strong. And of course, when they're when they're humanely treated, then they never know, what hit them, right? So unfortunately, we are made that way. Our bodies need these amino acids. It's very difficult to get it just from a plant-derived, diet. And even uh, vegetarians who include fish and dairy products and eggs, they're still not getting all of the nutrients that are stored in red muscle. So there's a lot of extra minerals in there and other types of proteins that are embedded in the muscle cells in an animal that we need. So anyway, this is a lot of work just to shape a little piece of meat for a burger, right? And it seems very, very expensive, much more expensive.
And
All right,
damaging.
so okay, I just have a little more to go. How's everybody doing? Do you find this interesting? Should I keep going?
Yes, for me, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Keep going.
Yay. Okay. Who is behind the surge of fake food and who benefits? Over the last couple of years and following the relentless emergence of new startups, the market for synthetic and plant-based alternatives has been rapidly expanding with financial backing skyrocketing in 2020. There it is, the corporate ability to capitalize on something just to make money, just for the sake of profit. The Good Food Institute, a lobby advocate group. It sounds like a great name for a consumer advocate kind of company, right? No, it's a lobby advocate group for the adoption of animal product alternatives. Reports that in the United States, the plant-based market has already grown from 4.9 billion in 2018 to 7 billion in 2020. That's just 2 years, right? Which represents an overall increase of 43% in dollar sales over the last 2 years. Similarly, the plant-based meat market is also booming, having reached a value of 1.4 billion and a registered growth of 72% by 2020. Beyond Meat has been one of the hottest stocks in 2019. The plant-based meat company's shares grew a whopping 859% during its first 3 months. I don't know who's buying this kind of stock, but they fall into two categories: complete ignorance or just not caring.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, I would not to tell you what to invest in, but I would never invest in a company like that. Why would I want to contribute to the poisoning of and diminishing of the health of humanity? It doesn't make
Right.
sense to me. Any comments about that?
This is like in
Well, I
alignment
do.
with the pharmaceutical, not to say, but it's like it just reminds me, it's like what they're putting into bodies is not, it's it's killing us. I'm sorry. I know this is recording.
No, that's okay.
But
It's
it's
the truth.
damaging. Yep, it's damaging the cellular structure, and people are investing in damaging our DNA. And some of
Mm.
this food, you're calling these brand names. And when I walk down a couple aisles, because I do walk down the organic aisles in the grocery store to see what's available,
Mhm.
and some of this stuff is in there, and people have no idea. I mean, I just look at it. I don't really pick up because if I see something that says Beyond Meat, I do not want to eat something that's Beyond Meat. I want to
Yeah.
eat, you know,
It took a lot of fight from the consumers to just get the warnings on genetically modified organisms on labels, let alone banning GMOs. They're banned in other countries. They should be banned in the United States. But there was a lot of much of a battle to just get that distinction on them. That's just for genetically modified organisms. Something like this, there needs to be some cautions, some warnings, and there needs to be literature out there to educate the public so that, I mean, we have a right to know, right? But do these corporations care about what we have the right to know or not know? They don't. They don't want us to know so that they can make their profits. And I love that people build their wealth, and that's a fantastic thing that we have in this country, the freedom to build our wealth, but at the expense of damaging generations to come, not just the health of humanity right now, but having, people who have children and passing on those defective genes and increasing the birth defects or all these other, kinds of health issues that have actually increased in the generations that have since I've been born. So yeah, I mean, we have to stop this. And thank goodness that Bobby K, I don't know if I can say his whole name because my other video was taken down when I kept mentioning his name in my other video. And it's on Rumble, by the way. I put it on Rumble. But I call him Bobby K. And I'm pretty sure, do you all know what I mean by Bobby
yes,
K?
Absolutely, I
Yes,
do.
I'm
yes,
pretty sure you do. Anyhow, yeah. So Ruth, did you have another comment about this?
I did. It's the way they're marketing it to vegans. They call it plant-based, but they don't disclose all the chemicals that it takes to make fake meat. And these people are not educating themselves. And I think that Bobby is going to help a lot with that because there's going to have to be more full disclosure, and people are just going to have to learn what they're putting in their bodies. But most of these vegans, they just don't pay attention to it. And when you try to bring it to their attention that, hey, that quote, plant-based meat that you're eating that you think is healthier for you is actually killing you, they don't even want to discuss it. And that's the sad part.
Exactly. Really quickly, let's diverge a little bit. Oops, I don't like this search engine. I'm going to go to my Google. I don't really like Google that much either, but so if you type in a veggie burger, I mean, I look at labels all the time. You all probably do too, but let's look at the label of these things, and it's horrifying. Okay,
It is.
um, it's just terrible. So I don't know what the exact names are, but what is a veggie burger made from? Okay, vegetable protein, beans, soy peas, other source, GMO, carrot squash. Squash is another GMO food, mushrooms, peppers, beets. So I think, yeah, beets are also GMO. So yeah, there are a lot of GMOs in there, genetically modifying your DNA, but I will need to see what the ingredients are. Let's see if it'll come up with the label right away. Just to show you all, I'm sure you've already seen it, but people who will be watching this video need to be informed. Let's see. Sometimes AI doesn't quite have, it's still learning and it's still compiling, so it doesn't quite have what I'm looking for a lot of the time. But let's go ahead and go to the Science Journal and see what the peer-reviewed studies have said about this. That's where the truth comes out. I love the peer-reviewed studies because content and availability of minerals in plant-based burgers. Okay, let me see. Not the right search term, so let's see. Health hazards. That's a little bit strong, but let's see what comes up. This is what I want to teach members out there, future members. This is how you do your research. You have to put in the right search terms, always include Science Journal, be more specific, and that way you'll get more specific return on the types of research that's been done on these. But basically, I was looking for the ingredients on some of these burgers, but the ones I saw at Costco are just horrifying, and this, of course, will take you through all of the research studies that the panel of experts have gathered that's ever been done on the subject and give you just this whole, sometimes it's not really what you're looking for. There's just different things that these different groups of scientists all over the world have found. So yeah, I mean, this is mostly just the nutritional breakdown. That's not really what I was looking for, but sometimes you get interested in something like that and you end up thinking, where was I? Why did I come here? What was I doing in the first place?
Right.
Um,
Well,
but yeah, I
not
just
only
wanted
that,
to,
Google is now actively hiding things that certain people don't want people to see.
yes, and that's so illegal. That is so
I know.
just oh man. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to waste a lot of our time looking for ingredients, but yeah, just look at the ingredients, in the stores. And if you haven't already, and this is not necessarily for you people who are here right now with me, but out there when you see this video, just look at the ingredients, and they're not going to be, the types of ingredients that you would want to put in your body. And if you stick with us and you join the True Health Mastery Institute, you'll begin to know all of this information. You will not be, bamboozled into buying something just because some, corporation or some pseudoscience has said about it. All right, I'll just go on for now. Okay, all right. So let me just go ahead and read these last three paragraphs and then we can go on to other things. Clearly, it is agribusiness that stands to profit from this lucrative and quickly expanding market. Notice they say agribusiness. It is just a monopoly, right? That has taken over the planet. And so we have to put a stop to this because they've just grown too large. They've been damaging too many people's health. And of course, politically, or I should say, just sticking with the business aspect of these corporations, they're all tied together. They're all in the same club. And so, that can get pretty sticky. So I probably should leave it at that. When we stop recording, we can talk about that if you guys want. But there's a lot of things that we still can't, talk about if it's going to be out there to the public. But yeah, it may be shocking to some of you out there, but this is the kind of disclosure that I want to get out to people. And that's what Bobby K is all about, this whole new HHS part of our government that's being revamped is going to show the public so much more of this kind of information. Okay, so you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and show this. So we've already seen the stats on that, but there was another one I think that, oh yeah, I did show you this. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to jump to the next item on my document here. So if you look up Dr. Vandana Shiva on YouTube, you'll see the video where she talks about this, and she goes into very great detail about why the artificial meat industry is so toxic. And so she really gives you a lot of factual data on that. I have so much respect for her. She's been around for many, many years. So let's see if there was something here that I wanted to show you. Now, this talk just talks about what she's been doing, as far as her work goes. So if you want to check that out, I will be posting all the links that I'm showing you today. I always do. So yeah, this is just something if you want to know more about her qualifications and why she's saying what she's saying. And this is a peer-reviewed study, Human Health Effects of Genetically Engineered Crops. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing to you, but those of you who want to learn what the true science says about genetically engineered crops, then you'll be able to see. I mean, you can click on documents like this, and this is just what the government has put out. And there's even some books that probably on the government library, National Academies Press. Yeah, that's the government library. You can extract all sorts of great information from the government library. For some reason, the administrations have not touched this part. There's still so many great books and articles that you can pull to do a deep dive on everything. So there's so many tangents. I'm trying really hard to stay on task because I can go off in all these different directions, but it's great fun for me. And I don't know if anybody else in the world feels that way, but I'm the biggest nerd when it comes to that. Okay, so yeah, it talks about human health effects of GMOs, and it takes you through the environment, the GMOproject.org also has some more general public kind of information there, but this is very technical, and you can and still enjoy it if you look at the like at the end of these kinds of articles, you'll find a summary, which is more for the layperson. If you don't want to dive into all the different experiments that the different scientists from around the world have done to come up with the conclusion that GMOs are very toxic to human health. So, I mean, it talks about the regulatory testing of risks to human health. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes the public just doesn't know about. Okay. Regulatory testing of crops resistant to glyphosate. That's the horrifying pesticide that has so many health effects. And 2,4-D and of the new uses of the herbicides themselves. So, I mean, it just goes very much of a deep dive. They'll tell you about what happened with some of their experiments. As an acute dietary test in rats that found a lowest observed adverse effect. It's about 1 ounce per 200-pound person. I don't know what that's about. We'd have to check that out more. But then they're discussing with the EPA. Yeah, they've been receiving a lot of information from the public, in protest probably, or just scientists trying to get them to listen and to turn around and let the public know what's going on. But a lot of these government agencies, probably this one may or may not exist anymore because of the serious cleansing of, all of the corrupt governmental agencies that are being shut down because we're just done. And of course, with Doge in effect, they're going through and analyzing where the money has gone and where it's being used and whether it's worth keeping or not. And they're all being shut down because they were all mismanaging taxpayer money, and who knows what other monies have gone through, these kinds of agencies. But yeah, it's a house cleaning going on right now, and it's very promising because everything is being exposed and finally, revealed to the public, hopefully. Little by little, of course, it's very shocking to have the whole world that you've known and trusted, especially some of these government websites, to suddenly be, that you're told that they've been corrupt. So I know it's shocking to a lot of people out there. So we have to take information a little at a time. And some of us who've been knowing about this for decades are kind of frustrated and a little bit impatient. But I realize this is very, very disrupting, to someone's belief system, believing that the government is a certain way when it really isn't. So I'm here to tell people the truth and reveal the truth too. It's got to be revealed. And so hopefully this information will be shared widely, Okay, so technical assessment of human health risks posed by genetically engineered crops, animal testing, all these different, some of them are on rodents. Rodents have a metabolism and physiology very similar to us, which is strange, but they've been using laboratory rats and mice for generations now to experiment to see their effects. And that's when they are able to experiment on humans. Once they realize that the rats and the mice can handle certain things, then humans, they're tried on humans. But even then, they may not be completely allowed, or accepted by the FDA. So there's a lot of corruption and untruths and lies being behind closed doors in a lot of these organizations or government agencies like the FDA. So we'll have to do another call on that because we can really go off on a tangent here. Okay, so just so that I just went ahead and did a search, using the search term Science Journal, and I came up with a few of these kinds of websites where you just learn, and you learn what's going on behind the scenes and what you haven't been told. So here's another one. This is actually a systematic review. The reviews are much more able to be deciphered by the general public that don't have a lot of this technical knowledge that the scientists do, right? They can get very, very technical in their experiments, but this is very right away, they give you the objective and a short blurb on the methods that these scientists from all over the world have used to come to their conclusions and the results, in great summary here, and the conclusion. So as you can see, these are all the other studies that this peer review panel selected as the most valid in this subject. So it'll go through and tell you exactly what's going on, why there's adverse effects of GMO foods. So they're at the foundation of these synthetic meats that are being produced. So yeah, I definitely would seriously evaluate whether you're going to take in something like that may cause some kind of genetic changes in your genetic code, that the operating instructions for your body. Okay, so yeah, I will be posting all these here. And here's another article, The Myth of Cultured Meat, a review. Another peer-reviewed panel has evaluated, whether cultured meat is going to be good or not. And, you have to also, when you look at these peer-reviewed studies or any kind of scientific study, at the very bottom, there should be a disclosure stating that there is no that they didn't take money from any kind of, or they weren't influenced by any corporation. Conflict of interest is what it's called, And they, when you see that it says the authors declare that the research was conducted in the absence of any commercial or financial relationships that could be construed as a potential conflict of interest, that's a very, very important thing to look for when you're looking for scientific facts. Okay. And of course, they're going to list all of the different scientists that made the grade that were included in this peer-reviewed study. So this is the most valid you can get right now in this point of time in our history, the evaluation of all these different scientists that have come to the same conclusion. So that's what this article is about, is why cultured meat is not such a good idea. Okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to show everyone. Any questions, any comments? Let's just discuss the heck out of this or any other subject that you want to cover. That's what I'm here for.
If my meat doesn't have one ingredient, beef, lamb, venison, elk, bear, whatever, it don't get eaten, period.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is really scary because so many people, they've already consuming this product, these types of products, and have no idea. They really think, because they're thinking, they're saving the animals, which is like they may be saving the animals, but they're killing themselves by
Yeah.
consuming these products, destroying our DNA, destroying our cellular, and the effects that it's having on our organs and the performance. And we may not be able to detect what's going on. Things go away. We get all of these symptoms, and they try to, I guess, take it back to the body systems. But if this is throwing off the signaling of all our metabolic processes, who knows how it's going to, what it's going to take to correct all of this in our bodies.
That's right. That's why we have to consume the foods with the correct, compatible, biocompatible genetic codes in the foods themselves, because our DNA reads those genetic codes and uses some of those codes for its repair and regenerative process, detoxification. So it takes a long time. We have multiple trillions of cells in the body, and even more multiple trillions of biochemical cellular processes going on 24/7 our whole lives. So a lot of things can go wrong if the wrong information is presented in the body. So that's why it takes a long time for the body to finally realize, okay, now I need to give this part of the area of the body or this system priority, because it has a system of priorities and it will fix what it needs to. And then if there's enough left over, if there's enough nutrients still available, then it will start working on something else. There's always something to work on in the body because we're aging. We can't stop the aging process. We can prolong it, and we can still enjoy our lives very much if we take good care of it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's a point where people have to realize what is going on in my body. And this is why I started the Institute too, is because your own physiology, if you don't know what's inside your body, then you won't be able to take care of it. And you won't, if you don't know what it needs, then there's that double whammy. You have no idea what's going on in your body. It's surprising how many people don't know where their organs are, where their liver is, and the different main body systems. What's the endocrine system, and what is the integumentary system. I mean, everybody needs to know those basics in order to recognize what they should be putting in their body or not. And of course, if you for those of you out there who are watching this video for the first time, you want to educate yourself as to all of the nutrients, all the known nutrients that your body is constantly having to utilize to maintain itself, to perpetuate your aliveness. So I'm going to quickly refer to my website so that you can see the books that I have written are kind of, I consider they're very important for the public, because everything that is in this book is life-saving, especially the nutritional synergy book. It's my 14 category food choice system where you choose foods from the categories every day, and you will automatically get the full range of all known nutrients. So balancing nutrients from different food groups, and it's much more extensive than the government website, the government dietary food guidelines, or any other diet out there that is so nutrient deficient and so imbalanced, and a lot of times they don't even mention whether you should buy, foods that are not genetically modified, or if they're organic, or how the food is grown, or what kind of nourishing soils produce the healthiest plants, nutrient rich plants, and nutrient rich animal foods too, because they eat those same kinds of nutrients that's in the ground, of course. So and another book that I would recommend is The Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. It contains 109 botanicals in it. And if you want to, like Yvette, you were saying, you have someone who wants more science, this is the ultimate scientific book. If you're an APL Go associate, there's another book that's very similar to that. And you can email me for information about that, or you can go to my website on the APL page on my website, holisticchoices.com/APL. I'll go to that page momentarily. But for the general public, if you want to know more about what botanicals are considered superfoods, nutrient dense, contain the most plant chemicals that address every body system's needs to regenerate and recover and repair itself. And I'm talking about recovering from so many different health ailments that my clients have recovered from, since I've been doing this for a very, very long time. And so when you nourish the body correctly, then the body knows what to do. It has what it needs to repair itself. And that's generally what I write about, what my books are all about, just to get the body everything it needs in order for it to repair itself. So that's just a quick commercial break on my for my website. But yeah. So anything else?
One of the things that I will, and then I'll let someone else, but I noticed one of the things, because I'll look in the aisle of the produce aisle, and this session here has made me go back to think there are names on certain products, and even like the produce, that'll say the name of the company is a bio something, but then on the product it will have organic. And this is making me think, like, really, are they again hiding something, making us think that it's this way, but behind that company name, they're making these lab grown foods for us to eat.
Yes, we need to keep an eye on the organic food industry because, oops, I wanted to share something now that you mention it. That's a very good point, and I wanted to expand on that. So, okay, the term bio on organic foods, see what comes up. The bioproduct is the same organic product and they do not differ from each other, so they claim. Now, we have to look at our organizations. We have to look at these corporations and see who owns them, right? I don't really want to go there. See, that's very suspect. Biofood.md, you click on it and it's not a safe website. That is very interesting.
Yes.
Organic food, bio, eco, what's the difference? Here's something else. Of course, I didn't type in the search term Science Journal, so you'll see a variety of information out there, different websites. Sometimes they want to sell you their supplements or whatever, right? But this could be a good place to start for people who are just starting out and wanting to know more information, not necessarily the scientific, data. But so organic, pretty much people who are here probably exactly know what organic means, but not using pesticides, not using genetically modified organisms, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to ensure the complete fertility of the soil, but it's a much better food to eat from than the monoculture, the big agricultural corporations that don't nourish the soil at all. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to go any farther than that. So that was a disappointment. See, this is just a complete, this is why I go to the science, because there's all these unsatisfactory type of websites, Okay,
Yes.
so this one's about, sorry?
No, I was just agreeing with what you were saying. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the search term I used doesn't turn up the kind of scientific data that I was looking for. You have to play with the search term sometimes. Science Direct gives you a Reader's Digest sort of, kind of review of what's been done. And this just gets into specific foods, and it's not really what we were looking for originally, but it's very interesting. You can get lost in this kind of stuff. But and also when I was in college, I've been in and out of college for a long time. I was always going back to college and getting more education, but we were never allowed to do any research and back ourselves up with Wikipedia, because that's just anyone can contribute to Wikipedia. And I noticed over the years that it's very slanted toward the corporations and not really for the health of humanity. So a lot of that information is false. I've seen that. And our professors just wouldn't let us use that as a serious reference. There's a lot of good information there, but you'd have to verify it, to make sure that it's accurate. I take a lot of photos from there because a lot of it is Creative Commons. You can use that for anything you want. It's open source kind of photos. So I use that in some of my presentations. But other than that, I don't go to Wikipedia for any serious, reference. But yeah, I mean, you can go to the Mayo Clinic. That's also, they have two separate websites, one for practitioners and one for the lay public. But, they're not going to get very specific either, other than telling you what organic food is all about, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, getting really down to the right search term, and these search engines don't always, Google is a corporation, and they do not want the public to know certain things. So we think we're getting some factual data. We're not getting the whole complete, picture of what's really going on. So we do our best. We get what we can. That's why I trust the peer-reviewed studies, because those are worldwide and those are panel reviewed, So that, to me, that's the best way to get information. That's why I keep going back to them. So yeah, I mean, a systematic review of organic versus conventional food, that may or may not be what we're looking for either. Mostly it seems to be only focused on what organic food is, but the bio, probably because it's so new, or at least it seems to be new. So I guess bio is anything, well, I know bio means life, right? But it could be a mislabeling term, like the word natural.
Yes.
Let's try this, bio in food labels. Let's see what AI has to say. A well-written, informative bio okay, that's for a person. Labels on products that accurately and clearly identify them as meeting certain standards, such as organic or bioengineered. So that's interesting that an organic label would say the word bio in there, because they're two different opposing terms.
Yes.
So that's cause to worry. As consumers, we need to call the companies. There's always these toll-free numbers on the label, and just put the questions to them. And if they're willing to provide you with information, then I begin to trust them more. But I've had corporations just give me the runaround, and that's when I knew I didn't want to advocate them at all.
That's why I asked this question, because I'm going like, how can organic and bioengineer be in the same conversation?
Unless they are starting to incorporate the word bio, because the masses are starting to pay attention to that word. And but still, the organic food industry has no business to confuse the public like that. I don't think they should use the word bio at all. It's obviously from life, right? Organic
Yes.
foods are from life, so the word bio means life. So there's a misuse of that term and a misleading thing going on here that
Exactly.
is upsetting.
Yep. And
I
that's
haven't.
what I'm seeing here. It's just taking our mind somewhere else, that it's like it's leading us down a path that's not the right path.
Mhm,
At all. It's not, yeah.
exactly.
So
Okay. So anyhow, Tuesday, I hope you got something out of this. I know you're at work. It looks like Ruth was going somewhere and she probably had to abandon the call, but there she is. Hi.
Hi, I have definitely. I've been listening to it. It's been incredible. Yeah,
Good,
it's
good.
crazy.
That's good. Good to know. Right. Okay. Well, that's all I have for you, members, and I'm glad. Yael, I wanted to. I'm going to stop the recording because we have some, business to attend to here. So let me go ahead and stop the recording. If I can figure out how. sometimes it pops up and I see the button and let's see, what's this? Oh, here it is. Okay.